in the wake of the Paris attacks, we've seen a lot of scapegoating, a lot of finger pointing. We've seen politicians trying to make a gain in the campaign trail by using this massacre as a political angle. But now we have a very unlikely scapegoat. His name is Edward Snowden, and we have the top security intelligence officials in this country, former and current, accusing him of being the culprit of the Paris attacks. That, for me, it's insane for them to come forward and give these statements to the public blaming him for what's going on. What they're saying, first, the current director of the CIA, John Brennan, he was a little more moderate on his approach. He said, in the past, there has been some, releases of information and some changes in policy that really makes it hard for us to do our job. Mm-hmm. Now, the previous CIA director, James Woolsey, he was not as nice. He said, this guy, Edward Snowden, has blood in his hands from the Paris attacks. I want to see him hanging till his death. Mm-hmm. That's what he said, quoting it. I mean, this is
not mincing words there.
Not mincing words at all. And I think this is sad to see that at this moment that we have to be focused on a different thing. We are trying to push yet the agenda of surveillance, of massive surveillance to Americans, justifying it by the threat of fear.
We know what the U.S. does to whistleblowers here in this country. Case in point, Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden. Look, Josh Rogan, a Bloomberg reporter, asked Brennan, I believe this was at a conference or some sort of forum this week for the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He asked him, why was this allowed to happen? He wanted him to point the blame at somebody. And he said, well, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's because of a number of unauthorized disclosures, which is really dangerous to me, Jose. When he said that, it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, because you realize what he's saying. This whistleblower is responsible for terrorism, which, wow, I mean, what a leap there, really?
And it's a double whammy, because it takes the blame away from the whole process of invading a country and changing the regime back in the days where, Woolsey was in the post. So in one side, they are trying to shift the attention of the problem, of the root of the problem, and on the other one, they're pushing an agenda. They're pushing for keep the surveillance.
Therefore, we need to attack your civil liberties and make sure that we can listen and watch everything you do and say.
Well, we don't know for a fact that the jihadists actually have any digital communication. Those are the things that are being investigated right now. But what we know is that the mastermind, Abdelhamid Abaaoud, he was able to transit in Europe freely. He was detained and let go. So we know that the analog security measures that could have prevented this guy from carrying this attack were not followed, and yet they are talking about a whistleblower that brought light to an issue that affects millions of Americans in their benefit, to be protected from a constant surveillance of the government, and now we're trying to push this into one single guy that has nothing to do, when we have, here's the crazy thing, last year, Flashpoint Global Partners did an examination to see if the jihadists actually did any updates or changes in strategy, in digital strategy, after Snowden did the leak. There was no changes in behavior, no changes in the software or in encryption. So there's no real connection in between the information that Snowden leaked and a reaction from the jihadists. So it's completely baseless. There's no facts to it.
Mm-hmm. His logic confuses me as well. It's like, just wow, really? You'd expect something else if you're going to take away our civil freedoms, our civil liberties, and encroach on our personal privacy like that. I'd want a better rationale first. So.
It is crazy. Glenn Greenwald, the Pulitzer Award winner journalist that brought forward most of the leaks that Edward Snowden put forward in the website, The Intercept, he said that is one of the worst cases of propaganda that he's seen before, and it's very, very sad that at this moment we have politicians that try to make a gain in the campaign trail, but also try to push an agenda, a policy of surveilling Americans in this country.